Thursday will be one of the most important days of his travel schedule when he attends the APEC summit in South Korea. That's the Asian Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum. Joining us now with more on what we can expect from the president's trip, connecting America's foreign correspondent, Amy Kellogg. Good morning to you, Amy. So obviously one of the big moments on this trip will be a meeting between President Trump and Xi Jinping. What are we expecting? Why is this such an important time for these two to meet?
I don't know about you all, but I'm starting to get really battered by all the different tariff numbers. I'm having a hard time keeping
Yes.
score of who's paying what and who's giving up what to get lower tariffs. But tariffs, of course, will be a key issue, with President Trump having threatened 100% tariffs on China because China is controlling its exports of those all important rare earth minerals. So, it is expected that China may loosen up its export controls or kick those down the road for a year to give the rest of the world, and most importantly for us, the United States, the opportunity to figure out how to keep the supply chain strong. Also, we are going to be talking TikTok. The US wants to be able to continue to have TikTok as a legal social media tool, but the issue of national security has been on top of mind for the last few years. So the bottom line on that one is that TikTok, the US version of TikTok, or the US TikTok, would, in an ideal world, be majority owned by United States investors or companies, and the algorithm would be held here. There's a lot of fudging on that one, as you can well imagine, because China does not want to hand over that very complex and very seductive, addictive algorithm that makes TikTok so popular among young people. Also, with China, of course, will always be the issue of Taiwan, and it is surmised that President Trump may be less supportive of Taiwan vis-a-vis China's claims to want to retake it than other administrations. But it's not clear exactly where the Trump administration stands on Taiwan. China would be very, very happy to hear that the US is not going to fight for Taiwan's independence should it come to a conflict. But the language will be very, very, very nuanced and very important for both sides. And finally, I need to mention, I almost forgot this, is the soybean deal. If the tariffs on China, or that 100% threat, is taken back, then China will presumably agree to start buying American soybeans again. Very important for our farmers. We understand from the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent that a framework has been agreed for all of these issues, but they still need to be signed off on by Xi Jinping and President Trump. That happens on Thursday in South Korea.
Amy, we know, speaking of head-spinning tariffs, that the Prime Minister of Canada is going to be there as well after President Trump slapped that 10% tariff on Canadian goods because he didn't like that television ad that was running by Canadians. Will the Prime Minister, Carney, get a chance to plead his case? Because I know the president has said, I don't want to talk to him.
Right. That's exactly right, Jim. That's what the president has said. He has said Canada can play a little dirty, but we can play dirtier. Prime Minister Mark Carney has said that it's important in very difficult negotiations to always keep a cool head. So he is not acting as if he is rattled by this additional tariff that's been slapped on Canada, and also the failure of the two sides to reach their agreement because the United States, after that advertisement using a line from Reagan against tariffs, angered Trump so much. So I don't know. I can't really guess. It is not on the table, but of course, these meetings provide all sorts of opportunities for sidebar meetings to occur. And the last time we saw Trump and Carney in a room, they seemed to have a good chemistry. So let's just see what happens. Again, this commercial that apparently angered Trump so much that he slapped a further tariff on Canada is only a provincial. It was put out by a provincial government. It's not even a national. It wasn't backed by a national party or Canada. Canada is the only major G7 country that has not finalized its tariff deals with the United States. So this is something that is quite another major elephant in the room over there in Asia where they're all meeting.
Speaking of an elephant in the room, what about Trump and word that he may be open to meeting with North Korea's Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un? What is the likelihood, in your opinion, and also what would they be talking about if that meeting occurs?
Kieran, Trump has made it very clear that he'd like a meeting with Kim Jong un, the North Korean leader. And Kim Jong un has said that won't happen unless the US gives up on its, I forget exactly the quote he used, but it was, it drops its hollow obsession with denuclearization. Now, that has also turned into another issue that's getting much discussion and debate going around it because Trump has in his urgency to get this meeting to make this meeting happen has said, well, I have no problem calling them a nuclear nation. They have lots of nukes. That would really rattle the cages of our allies in the Indo-Pacific region because it is important that the posture of getting North Korea to give up its nuclear arsenal remains the posture of all the allies and first and foremost the United States. It's interesting. Trump has said that he has a good relationship with Kim Jong un. He said he has a great relationship with Putin. It's not clear what he means by that because these are not friends. These are foe nations. These are nations with which we have real standoffs right now. So what he means by these good relations, North Korea has become more nuclear and more dangerous since Trump and Kim last met in Trump won the first presidency. And also, Kim Jong un has sent his troops to fight with the Russians against Ukraine, whom we've been supporting in that war. So it's not clear what Trump would accomplish when the last three meetings that he held with Kim did not lead to any concrete results. And in fact, Trump stormed out of one of them because it became clear that there was not going to be a meeting of the minds. But it is possible in the 11th hour, as has happened in the past with Trump and Kim, that there could be some meeting after Trump does what he needs to do with allies in South Korea, because it's very close to North Korea. And one time we did see them meet exactly at the border.
All right, Amy Kellogg, live for us from overseas.